to the basketball world, and the road to the Final Four passes directly through the Bluegrass State. This is thoroughbred country where champions roam freely. But today's sport is basketball, and this afternoon in Rupp Arena, a new champion will be crowned. It's March Madness, and the story of this region has been upsets. Michigan is led by Big Ten Player of the Year, Glenn Rice, who was relentless against North Carolina, hitting 8 3-pointers. While all Big Ten guard Ramil Robinson has pushed the Big Blue, feeding the Wolverines like Terry Mills. Michigan kept new head coach Steve Fisher alive and undefeated in tournament play, while Coach Terry Holland brought his Virginia Cavaliers charging into this final, knocking off top-seeded Oklahoma behind the floor leadership of guard John Crotty and the inside points of freshman Brian Stiff. But today, Virginia will need the hot hand from the senior guard, Richard Morgan. The winner of this game moves on to the Great Northwest for the battle in Seattle and the 1989 NCAA Championship. Welcome to Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky for the championship game in the Southeast region. It's the Virginia Cavaliers and the Michigan Wolverines. It's down to the Final 8, and this afternoon we'll put the first team into the Final Four. And hello again, everybody. I'm Tim Brandt along with Len Elmore. Len, let's start talking about Michigan. The Wolverines' 27 wins looked awfully strong against North Carolina.
Well, the keys to Michigan's success is to get continued good judgment from their playmaker, Ramil Robinson. Now, he's 6'3" and a converted playmaker, and he was a bit shaky in the first half against North Carolina, but in the second half, he regained his confidence, he got some poise, and he did a great job on the fast break. You also have to look at Glenn Rice. He's Michigan's man in the clutch, and when the game's on the line, he wants the ball.
Now, if there is a surprise team among the Final 8, it has to be Virginia. Can the Cavaliers win this afternoon?
Well, if 6'3" senior guard Richard Morgan has anything to do with it, they will. Now, Morgan's an emotional player who's in the groove, and he's been getting the ball in places where he can be effective, and he's been executing better than ever. The other person we have to look at is 6'5" freshman forward Brian Stiff. Now, Stiff plays a lot bigger and a lot older than he really is, and for Virginia to win, he's got to have a big one.
All right, Lenny. An interim head coach, a Cinderella team. It's a script which could have been written by Horatio Alger.
CBS Sports coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship Regional Final game from Lexington, Kentucky is sponsored by the Heartbeat of America, today's Chevrolet. Rolaids Antacid Relief, you know how to spell it. And by the Industrial Tool Division of Black & Decker.
Virginia and Michigan have split the only 2 games those two schools have played, but they haven't met since 1980. Let's meet the starting lineups. Here's our public address announcer, Doug Bruce.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky for today's Southeast Regional Final between the Virginia Cavaliers and the Michigan Wolverines. Now, let's meet the starting lineups. For Virginia, at forward, a 6'5" freshman from Freeman, Virginia, number 20, Brian Stiff. For Michigan, at forward, a 6'9" senior from Grand Rapids, Michigan, number 35, Loy Vaught. For Virginia, at forward, a 6'7" sophomore from Millmont Park, Pennsylvania, number 30, Matt London. For Michigan, at forward, a 6'7" senior from Flint, Michigan, number 41, Glenn Rice. For Virginia, at center, a 6'9" junior from Hicksville, New York, number 32, Brent Dabbs. For Michigan, at center, a 6'10" junior from Romulus, Michigan, number 52, Terry Mills. For Virginia, at guard, a 6'3" senior from Salem, Virginia, number 11, Richard Morgan. For Michigan, at guard, a 6'7" senior from Rosemont, Illinois, number 20, Mike Griffin. For Virginia, at guard, a 6'1" sophomore from Spring Lake, New Jersey, number 22, John Crotty. For Michigan, at guard, a 6'2" junior from Cambridge, Massachusetts, number 21, Rumeal Robinson. And introducing the head coaches for Virginia in his 15th season, Terry Holland, and for Michigan, head coach Steve Fisher.
The last time Michigan reached the final was 1977 here in Lexington. The last time the finals were in Seattle, Virginia was there in the Final Four.
We're not a company, but no company has more pride in what they do, or more pride in how well they...
Richard Morgan had 66 points in those first 2 wins and then 25 points against Oklahoma. That's how Virginia got here. Take a look at the University of Michigan. Michigan with a big win Thursday night against North Carolina. The officials, Mickey Crowley and Jim Burr from the Big East. Frank Fasone of the SEC. And UVA has the tap. This is Morgan. More than 22,000 in Rupp Arena. Michigan in white playing man-to-man defense. Morgan fires and loses it to Michigan. The Wolverines are 27-7. That one is for 2 from Rice.
Michigan recognizing they've got the advantage in the front court. They're going to go to Rice and all the other guys right away.
Inside of the freshman, he kicks it back out front. This is Crotty. Crotty is fouled and scored. And the foul will be on Robinson, his first, the team first.
And Tim, John Crotty is the floor leader for Virginia. He's done a heck of a job in controlling the tempo, particularly in the Oklahoma game. Virginia's not normally a 100-point scoring team, but Crotty's done an excellent job. And in the first 2 games in the NCAA tournament, he has really gone outside of himself as an offensive player, been more offensive-minded, and that's probably led to his effectiveness as a floor leader.
Crotty is a 6'1 sophomore, high school All-American, player of the year out of New Jersey. And Virginia has a 1-point lead. Turnover number 1 for the Wolverines. Tough pass by Morgan. Crotty saves it, and this is Rice. Man-to-man defense by the Cavaliers. Rice will fire from there and hit it.
Now, Richard Morgan knows that he can't stay that far away from Glenn Rice. Glenn Rice gets it going as early as he has. He's going to be difficult all afternoon to stop.
Try to set up the screen. Morgan pops out top. The freshman will fire for 2.
Basket by Steph.
Last time Michigan had the ball, Virginia put on some full court pressure. They were a little shaky in handling it.
Rice for 2 more. He's 3 for 3 from the field. Morgan on the baseline. And Blunden has the rebound. Possession arrow belongs to Michigan.
Matt Blunden doing an excellent job on the offensive boards. That was one of the keys in Virginia's victory against Oklahoma. Michigan has got to block off because, surprisingly, Blunden and Dabbs, who aren't great leapers, and Stiff as well, they all get great offensive rebounding position. They've got to be watched.
It's hard to believe that Glenn Rice was recruited by only 3 schools: Iowa State, Central Michigan, and the Wolverines of Michigan. Mills with the turnaround. This is Crotty to Stiff. Dabbs with a short jumper. Can't get it to go. Fight for the rebound. Wolverines.
And you can see in that play, Vaught did a nice job of sealing Dabbs off the board.
It's a 3-point Michigan lead, and this foul will be against Stiff.
Now Virginia's very cognizant of the inside game of Michigan. That time Brian Stiff, guarding Mike Griffin in the corner, stepped way over to try to help out and cause the foul.
That's the first on Stiff, and the first team foul against the Cavaliers. 17-11 remaining in the first half. Tim Brandt and Len Elmore at Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky. The winner of this game moves on to the Final Four. London almost lost it out of bounds. Last touch by Michigan. Crotty will fire. This is for 2. Rebound Rice. Mills with a turnaround on the baseline. First miss for Michigan.
There's an inside height advantage again. Vaught doing a nice job. He kept moving and got on the boards.
The Wolverines, a very physical club. Much bigger than the Cavaliers of Virginia. Robinson can't get his shot to go in. Dabbs with a rebound for Virginia. It's a 3-point Michigan lead.
Virginia's strength again, Tim, is in controlling the tempo of the game. They want to play a moderate game because they know they've got good execution offensively, and that's what John Crotty's done. He's reset the offense.
This is Morgan with the turnaround, and the foul will be against the Cavaliers. Offensive foul. And it's on Dabbs. That's his first. Second team foul. Steve Fisher took over for Bill Frieder last week when Frieder announced he was going to Arizona State. And Fisher is 3-0 as a head coach. He turned 44 years of age yesterday. This is Rice for 3.
The man is unconscious, Tim. I mean, he's pulling up from anywhere and just going straight up. Tremendous spring in motion by Glenn Rice.
He's 4 for 4 from 3-point range. And Crotty's fouled by Robinson. That's his second.
And what Glenn Rice is the beneficiary of is good unselfish play. Mike Griffin gets the ball inside, knowing he's not a post player. He's looking for Glenn Rice all the way, and the result of that 2-man play is a basket. Michigan knows where to get the ball to, whom to get the ball to, in places where they can use it. And with Glenn Rice, that's any place on the court.
Sean Higgins comes back in for Michigan, and Rice will have his first break. It's Mills, Falk, Griffin. Caleb is in now as well for Michigan.
Right now, these two guys, Rumeal Robinson and Glenn Rice, are a big part of the offense of Michigan. Steve Fisher wants to give them a breather. In a game like this, it heightens the anxiety. Maybe the blood level is up and the breathing levels are up. Let them get their breath and come back out and remain effective.
Vaught's shot won't go. Rebound Higgins, turn around, and he scores.
Sean Higgins, a smooth outside perimeter shooter at 6'9". You don't lose an awful lot with him in the game when he replaces Glenn Rice.
Michigan's on a 9-0 run over the last 3 minutes. And the foul will be against Mills down low, pushing Dabbs. 14:41 remaining in the first half. It's 13-5 Michigan. Virginia is just shooting 29%, missed their last 4 shots. Michigan, on the other hand, is 60% from the field.
Well, you take a look at this graphic, and it shows you Michigan's reliance on their inside game. Now, in this particular game, the front court scoring, Michigan has outscored the front court of Virginia 13-2. Now, Morgan and Crotty for Virginia, they've got to get it going in order for Virginia to really get back into this ball game.
The Wolverines are on a 9-0 run over the last 3 minutes. Virginia needs a bucket badly. This is the guy that can get it. That's Morgan. Crotty will reset the offense. Shot clock really not a factor in this game thus far. Morgan way out front. Shot clock is at 25, and Crotty will take it into the paint and give it back up to Blunden. Down to Stiff.
We talked about Bryant Stiff getting good inside position at 6'5". That's necessary for him, and he does it well.
Virginia showing a lot of patience, though.
Well, they didn't get to this point, Tim, by being a panicky squad. They recognized many times they were outmanned, but it has been their patience that's really kept them in ball games and put them in a position to win.
Higgins' shot was for 2. Morgan is really being roughed up by Griffin and Caleb, and Rice is about to come back in for Michigan. Patstra comes in for Virginia. So Vaught will sit down, and Morgan for Virginia will get his first break.
And for Michigan right now, they've really got only one natural post player, and that's Mark Hughes, but they feel they have the luxury of being able to play like that simply because they have the height advantage over Virginia inside.
Morgan sits down. He's 0 for 2 from the field for Virginia. Patstra. Back outside to Crotty, and they'll call the offense.
Richard Morgan is 0 for 2 right now. Only 2 shots. He really hasn't had an opportunity to get into the offense.
The foul is called against Mike Griffin. That's his first, and the 4th team foul against the Wolverines. Still not in the bonus situation. 13:20 remaining in the first half. Tim Brandt and Len Elmore with you. We'll put the first team into the Final Four this afternoon. This is Patstra. His shot off the back of the iron. Dabbs with the follow. Can't get it to drop. Higgins. Yes, for 3.
And where Glenn Rice leaves off, Sean Higgins picks up.
Higgins is 3 for 3. 7 points.
In Virginia, in running their offense right now, they're not really looking at their post people. Matt Blunden and Brent Dabbs both posted up nicely inside, but they were never given a look.
Blunden, Casper's open and fires for 3 and hits. 3 for Castro.
Well, Dirk Castro is quite a story. He's been a reserve guard most of the year, but he had been playing well in practice. Terry Howard figured he'd give him a chance.
Rice. That was for 3. Nice pass to Blunden. And he banks it in.
That's what Virginia has to do. While they rely on their perimeter game, they've got to have their inside people make themselves a threat.
But how do they stop Rice? He's got 12 points already. Correction, make it 15. Rice hadn't missed yet. Patstra. Dabbs with the rebound. The Michigan people on their feet. What a performance thus far by Glenn Rice. Crotty can't get to the baseline, so they bring it back up front. This is the freshman Stiff. And the foul's going to be on Caleb of Michigan.
Well, Demetrius Caleb is really hounding John Crotty, knowing that he's the most integral part of this Virginia offense. Crotty is a playmaker. When he gives the ball up, Caleb knows that he doesn't want him to get it back because that throws a monkey wrench into the Virginia offense.
Lloyd Vaught replaces Griffin for Michigan, and Morgan comes back in, and Castro will sit down. Robinson has 2 quick fouls for Michigan, so Caleb came in, and he picked up his first. Blunden throws it away.
Tim, a moment ago you asked how you stop Glenn Rice. I really look now for Virginia maybe to put Bryant Stiff on Glenn Rice because he may be the only one with the mobility on the front line to guard him. Matt Blunden just can't stay with Glenn Rice because he's too quick.
Terry Holland will sit Matt Blunden down after throwing the ball away. Jeff Daniel comes in to replace him. stiff, knocks it out of bounds. Michigan will have the basketball.
Well, it seems right now that Virginia, at least on that last possession, has gone to a box and one, where 4 players play the box of the free throw lane, and 1 player stays with the hot shooter, and it seems as though Richard Morgan is going to guard Glenn Rice, while the rest of the team plays a zone in that what we call box and one.
It's Robinson with the ball. He's joined by Higgins, Hughes, Rice, and Vaught on the floor for the Wolverines.
And we see Richard Morgan under the basket, following, shadowing Glenn Rice.
This is Rice. Tough shot. And a foul away from the basketball underneath. It'll be against Michigan.
Foul is on Vaught.
Now, Tim, I believe that Michigan had a difficult time in recognizing the defense here. You see the zone played by Dabbs and Jeff Daniel. Here's Richard Morgan. He's following Rice wherever he goes. Wherever Rice receives the ball in that perimeter area, he's going to have at least 2 guys on him. And in the last 2 games, that's probably the first forced shot I've seen Glenn Rice take.
The foul was on Vaught. That is his first, the 6th team foul against Michigan. Crotty to Daniel and back to Stiff. If Morgan has to work that hard defensively on Rice, though, it may take him out of his offense.
That's a good point. That's usually how you work on good offensive players, make them work on the other end.
Morgan not even close with his shot. The outlet pass to Robinson, and the Wolverines are running. Big rebound by Daniel, and he loses it out of bounds.
And that was a good shot by Rumeal Robinson. We mentioned at the top of the show, he's got to continue to make good decisions. Nobody challenged him as he came down, and he pulled up where he should to take the jump shot. He just misfired.
Richard Morgan is 0 for 3 from the field, and he's working hard defensively on Rice. Dabbs with a rebound. Crotty to Daniel. And again, Michigan gets back defensively very quickly. Morgan forces this shot, and that one's off to the left. Vaught with a rebound.
Sean Higgins at 6'9" is a formidable defensive player for Richard Morgan. It's difficult to shoot over him.
Morgan with the steal. Morgan looks a little bit winded.
Well, he's worked awfully hard.
Crotty with a tough shot down the lane. Cuts the lead to 10. 9:20 remaining in the first half. The Wolverines with a big lead, 24-14.
Michigan right now looking to get the ball inside.
Mills with the turnaround. Rebound Dabbs of Virginia. Numbers aren't there for Crotty. This is Morgan, uncontested for 3. Still not close.
Well, Richard Morgan is the type of player that sometimes he gets out of sync, and when he does, he has a tendency to throw up too many shots, run out of the Virginia offense, and that hurts him. He's got to realize he's got other abilities that can help his team, like defense, like rebounding. He's got to get some easy shots now.
He's 0 for 5 from the field. But one thing about Morgan, he won't stop shooting.
But he's got to be able to take some of the easy shots, get out on the fast break, do some offensive rebounding. You get some easy basket. That takes the pressure off you when you shoot the jump shot.
Crotty with the rebound. Good penetration, and he's fouled. The bucket's good.
This is twice in a row that John Crotty has seen an opening. He's got what they call a broken floor when the defense is not back and able to set up. And John Crotty's a master at picking the openings. He drove right by some of the taller but slower players for a nice layup.
The foul was on Vaught. That's his second. And Michigan now is over the limits. Crotty is at the line trying to complete the three-point play. Caleb comes back in for Michigan. Higgins will sit down. On the floor for Virginia's Daniel, Dabbs, Kenny Turner, Crotty at the line, and Catster. And Crotty converts.
Timeout on the floor.
24-17 with 8:10 remaining in the first half.
We're about to move one team on to the Final Four. Later today, you'll see Seton Hall UNLV out west in the Mile High City. And if you're keeping tabs, look at this. The Big Ten, very impressive. The ACC as well. Both have 2 teams remaining. And how about the Big East?
Well, I tell you, the Big East prestige, along with the Atlantic Coast Conference, and the Big Ten is on the line in the next 2 days.
Whistle away from the basketball. Virginia is on a 5-0 run over the last 4 minutes. And since Michigan took its biggest lead at 24-12, the Wolverines really have not shown much patience offensively.
You see a shot of Terry Holland right now. He's trying to work the official, saying it may be a bit too rough inside. And he also wants his team kind of to settle down a bit. It's a long ball game.
This is Robinson's shot, won't go. The foul is on Castro, and it's Gads with the rebound. Back to Crotty. .7:35 remaining in the half. 25 on the shot clock. Castro for 3. Bought with another rebound for Michigan. Inside, and Crotty pulls the rebound. Virginia's gotten to 58% throughout this tournament. Right now, they're ice cold. This is Castro. His shot is short. Turner with the rebound, and the foul will be against Falk. That'll be his 3rd.
Well, with Dirk Capson inside, it seems as though he's the designated shooter for Virginia. He's playing the position Richard Morgan plays, and Morgan is cold, and Terry Holland still wants that position to fire up the ball, to be a threat. And they've been running a lot of offense with Dirk Capson. Him being a reserve guard, it's difficult for him maybe to get involved in this type of offense. It's a new ball game for him.
Just to tell you one more time, Virginia shot 58% from the field, 70% from three-point range, and 83% from the free throw line throughout the tournament. Right now, the Cavaliers are 7 for 20 from the field. Kenny Turner's had several knee operations. His latest surgery was in October, and he misses the free throw. Robinson with great penetration.
Again, another good job by Rumeal Robinson in recognizing the defense. One defender had his back turned, and he just ran up his back to the basket.
It's a 9-point Wolverine lead. Turner hesitated on his shot. Crotty will go ahead and fire. This foul will be on Daniels. That's his 1st.
Now, one of the keys to Michigan's running game are the decisions made by Rumeal Robinson. Here he takes the ball. You see his defender, Kenny Turner, turn his back. Rumeal Robinson takes the lane, runs right up his back, and scores. There's no help side there.
6 minutes, 35 seconds remain in the first half. The Southeast Final at Rupp Arena. Wolverines lead by 9. Rice has 15 points. Shot clock is at 15, and this is Rice. Yes.
Well, Virginia's tried Richard Morgan, they've tried Matt Blunden, and now Kenny Turner, and no one seems to have the key to Glenn Rice.
Robinson with the steal. Here come the Wolverines. Nice pass to Caleb. The Wolverines are rolling.
I'd go to college.
Me too.
I have the money.
Yeah.
I'm going to college. I'm a new GI Bill. You serve full-time in the armed forces or part-time in the reserves, and you earn a lot of money for tuition.
The U.S. Armed Forces. It's a great place to start.
Inflation concerns swept Wall Street today as reports of Dow Jones average seesawed all day, closing up. The new administration's proposed budget puts less emphasis on the
Change, twists, turns, the unexpected. To achieve financial security today, you have to know how to deal with change, or have the help of someone who does. Merrill Lynch,
Corsica now has an affordable new hatchback, so you can get more into it and more out of it.
As you look at these numbers, Michigan is on a 6-0 run. Rice is 7 of 8 from the field, so this is not uncharacteristic of the Wolverines.
But it just shows you how statistically dominant the Wolverines have been all year. And one key point there is that shooting 47% from three-point range, that forces the defenses to extend themselves, and it makes it a lot easier on their big people inside to get the ball.
Morgan back in the ball game for Virginia. This is Crotty. To Daniel, back to Morgan for 3. Still has not gotten on the board.
Substitution for UVA.
Tim
Morgan now 0 for 6.
Well, we mentioned that Richard Morgan is an emotional player, and as he ran past us, you could see him with that frustrated look on his face. He doesn't know what's happening now.
Matt Blunden comes back into the ball game, replacing Jeff Daniel for Virginia. Wolverines with their biggest lead of the afternoon, 13.
See, Virginia still in their boxing one with Morgan guarding Rice. And as you mentioned before, Tim, that may be a problem for Richard Morgan on the offensive end because he's got to work so hard defensively.
Caleb drifts to the left side. Now, Caleb and Robinson are both in the ball game for Michigan. That's a touch by Steve Fisher because you never saw that combination on the floor at the same time with Bill Frieder. Robinson left side, tough shot, and he hits it. Morgan, still scoreless. 4:30 remaining in the first half. Hughes' shot is for 2, and it's a 10-0 Michigan run. Turnover number 6 for Virginia.
See Terry Holland calling out the defenses, and what Virginia is now playing to a certain extent, they were playing a diamond in one, which is about the same principle as the boxing one, but it doesn't seem to be helping.
Big rebound by Dabbs. Virginia a little bit unraveled right now. Dabbs will fire for 2. And Virginia needed that bucket badly.
And they did, and the funny thing is they didn't get it into their control, out of their control offense, but they pushed the ball up. Maybe they'll find the key to pushing the ball.
Rice falling away. He's now 8 of 9. Richard Morgan breaks the ice and is finally in the box score. 36-22 Michigan. We have 3 minutes and 39 seconds remaining in the first half. Rupp Arena, more than 22,000 here. Tim Brandt and Len Elmore with you. Michigan has been controlling the tempo. Rice has been red hot. And to this point, it's been mostly Michigan.
And Virginia's been unable to put the ball in the basket and unable to control the tempo. Michigan on a number of fast breaks have gotten a lot of people open, and they've just used their inside ability, their height advantage, to their best advantage here.
Virginia switches its defense to a man-to-man. Higgins, jump hook. It's good, and he's fouled.
And when we talk about the height advantage, again, we've got 6'9" Sean Higgins shooting over 6'4" Richard Morgan.
The foul is on Morgan.
Well, Glenn Rice knows when to shoot it and when to give it up. Recognizing the height advantage, 5 inches, Sean Higgins just takes a nice jump hook after a fake over Richard Morgan. And Michigan's been doing that all day, recognizing when they have the advantage, when they have the open shot.
Parade, and McDonald's High School All-American, originally signed with UCLA, but said he was coerced into it by his mother. He got out of that and signed with Michigan. Good look at Bo Schembechler in the stands. Morgan. Oh, what a shot. They only gave him 2. He started within the arc. By the time he came down, he was outside the arc. They'll stop the game, and they'll correct it. It is 2, as we said, but they put 3 on the scoreboard. So they'll take a point off. It's 39-24 Michigan. No question he started within the arc, but he was falling way away. Rice turns it over for the Wolverines. That's only the 3rd turnover for Michigan.
Now that Richard Morgan is hot, look for Virginia to go to him a little bit more. He's got the feeling he's going to demand the ball.
Crotty is open for a 3-point shot. Can't go. Stiff with a rebound. No. Mills for Michigan, and he loses it out of bounds. At the conclusion of today's NCAA tournament game, we will select the Chevrolet players of the game. In conjunction with the awards, Chevrolet will donate a $1,000 scholarship to the General Scholarship Fund of both schools. 2:25 remaining in the first half. The freshman Stiff in the paint is fouled, and Hughes does not believe it.
And Brian Stiff at 6'5", you know, he's in a forest right now with Mark Hughes, who had both hands up. And Hughes at 6'8", obviously is bigger and stronger than Brian Stiff, and Stiff is still willing to battle.
They called Hughes for the push-off, but it looked as if Stiff's feet slipped, and he went down uncontested.
Well, it still is pretty warm in here, and the perspiration is dripping freely. I think the officials would be well advised to keep an eye on the sweat dropping onto the court, because there will be some slippery spots.
Brian Stiff, valedictorian of his graduating class last spring, 2-time Virginia AA Player of the Year, cannot hit the free throw. 2:15 remaining in the half. It's 39-24 Michigan. The winner goes on to Seattle. They call it on Blunden for bumping and grinding against Mills. That'll be the first on Blunden, the backup quarterback on the football team.
Blunden is first.
Well, Virginia has recognized that their diamond and one, their boxing ones just don't work against Glenn Rice, so they've gone back to their basic defense, and that's man-to-man. But again, it creates an advantage inside, and Blunden's got a battle inside against the bigger and stronger Terry Mills.
I'm not sure anything can work against Rice the way he's been shooting. This is Mills on the baseline. Inside to Hughes, who can't get the shot to go, and Hughes fouls Dabbs.
Well, nice defensive job by Brent Dabbs. He really never left his feet and created an obstacle to Mark Hughes. Now, Hughes should have made that shot, but Dabbs stayed in without creating a foul and got fouled himself on the rebound.
Michigan is over the limit. That's the second personal, as you saw on Hughes.
Dabbs will be at the line.
Steve Fisher, the interim head coach, 3-0 as a head coach at Michigan, making a strong claim for the full-time job.
Number 20, Mike Griffin.
Well, Dabbs at the line with 2 points, 9 rebounds. Hughes sits out. So on the floor right now is Mills, Higgins, Calip, Griffin, and Rice for Michigan.
And going back to the comments for Steve Fisher, you think about this is an opportunity for him to leave his mark on Michigan basketball. People kind of question his inexperience in NCAA play, but he's 3-0. He made some key decisions against one of the best coaches of all time, Dean Smith, in their North Carolina win. And, you know, he's arrived, and I'm sure he wants to stay.
1:40 remaining in the first half. This is Calip of Michigan. Higgins for 2. It's 41-25. Wolverines.
And he just got a shot of Terry Holland in the top left corner of your screen, putting both hands out, more or less to say, settle down, fellas, settle down. And that's what Virginia's got to do. They've got an offense that they can work. They've got Richard Morgan, who can hit the baskets. What they've got to do, though, is run their offense and execute.
It's 41-25 Michigan with 1:20 remaining in the first half. Morgan fires for 3. Rice. And Calip takes his time down the left side. Hughes has it blocked by Stiff, and they'll call the foul on the freshman. If you're just joining us, Richard Morgan, who had 66 points in the first 2 tournament games, 25 points against Oklahoma, is now just 2 for 11 from the field. He has been extremely cold. Consequently, Virginia has not been able to generate much offense, and it's 41-25 Wolverines. Sean Higgins, 77% free throw shooter. And he bangs that one in.
Substitution for Virginia. Entering line number 24.
Castro will come in for Stiff for Virginia.
20, Ryan Stiff.
And that substitution kind of shows one of the weaknesses of the Virginia team. They've got to replace Brian Stiff, an excellent inside player, offensive rebounder, with Dirk Castro, who's a perimeter shooter. And they really don't have an awful lot of people to go to. Curtis Williams, who is a good inside player, has been injured.
Higgins now for his second shot. Did you play with his dad, Earl? His dad was in the NBA for a while. Played at Eastern Michigan.
Well, Earl Higgins played for the Indiana Pacers, but I got there maybe after he had left. But the fact of the matter is, kind of makes us both feel old when you know guys who are somewhat contemporaries now have sons playing big-time college basketball. At least I feel old.
Terry Holland getting a instruction from the official as to what happened there. Blunden lost the ball out of bounds. It'll be Michigan basketball. This is Higgins. It's 3 points if it goes. Under a minute to play in the first half. Shot clock at 30. Morgan way out front working against Higgins. London tries to get it inside the Dabs and throws it away. Virginia's way out of sync.
That was the case of Matt London trying to do too much. He didn't have really an opening there, and yet he tried to force it. That's been Virginia's problem. They get this far behind. Now everybody wants to try to pick up the slack. They have to do it as a team.
Steve Fisher tells his team to play for one. You see the clock and the time remaining in the first half. Caleb to Rice. Off-balance shot, and he banks it in. Oh, my. Biggest lead of the game for Michigan. That's the end of the first half with the score. Michigan 44, Virginia 25. CBS Sports coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship will continue after this message and a word from your local station.
CBS Sports coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship Regional Final Game is sponsored by Mitsubishi, bringing you the new Eclipse Sports Coupe. See it at your Mitsubishi Motors dealer. Pizza Hut, official corporate sponsor of the NCAA. And by Merrill Lynch, an investment firm built on a tradition of trust.
Wolverines are 23-2 when leading at halftime, and right now it's a commanding 19-point lead. And hello again, everybody. I'm Tim Brandt along with Len Elmore, and the Wolverines exploded in the very first minute of this game, went on a 20-7 run. Rice was 9 for 10 from the field, 3 for 3 beyond the arc.
Lenny, let's take a look at some of the statistics that might tell the story a little bit better.
Well, one of the problems Virginia's had is getting any kind of good shots here. Michigan, on the other hand, they've been getting the ball inside, and of course, Glenn Rice is a big story. He's only missed one shot of 10.
Bench scoring, of course, weighing heavily in favor of the Wolverines.
Well, that's not atypical of Virginia's game. They really don't have anybody to come off and help them. Here again, it shows Michigan's glaring advantage inside. They've got some people who can put it up and score.
Crotty with 8 points. We told you about Rice, 9 for 10 from the field, 3 for 3 beyond the three-point range. And Morgan missed his first 7 shots, then hit 2. He only has 5 points.
Well, we mentioned at the top of the telecast that Glenn Rice wants it when the chips are down. Chips may not be down, but here the clock is running down, and he'll get the ball up regardless. It looks like an off-balance shot, but he had his shoulder squared, and he knew exactly what he wanted to do.
It was not a good shot, but that's the kind of afternoon that Rice has had. He has just been relentless. He's hitting everything he throws up. It's a 19-point Michigan lead. Virginia traditionally has not been a good come-from-behind team.
Well, they just don't have the tools Virginia does. You take a look at Glenn Rice, and he looks the same as he did in the first half. He probably has the feeling. But talking about Virginia, they don't have the firepower, particularly from inside, to be able to draw the fouls as well as score, and they're not a great pressing team. So they're going to have difficulty coming back from this deficit.
Virginia's biggest comeback this year was an 8-point deficit to the University of Maryland, won that one in overtime. This is Stiff. It's Crotty, Stiff, London, Dabs, and Morgan on the floor for Virginia. It's a man-to-man Wolverine defense, and this is Morgan. Still can't get it to go. Rebound Mills for the Wolverines. Griffin, Rice, Mills, Vaught, and Robinson on the floor for Michigan. Rebound Stiff. Crotty has to come back and get it. Morgan will fire for three. Fight for the rebound, Blunden. And they'll reset the offense.
Well, good decision by Virginia. There's still a long way to go in this half, but they know they have to execute. Even if they reset their offense, they've got to get into it quickly.
Stiff falling away, can't hit the shot. But he's fouled by Rice, and that's his first.
And Brian Stiff a little frustrated because he only got maybe 3 shots in the first half. Right away, Virginia knows they're going to have to make Glenn Rice work a little bit on defense. That's a good way to stop a hot shooter.
Morgan will get a break. Capster comes back in, so they sit Morgan down very quickly. He's 0 for 2 this half. At the line is Brian Stiff. He's a 78% free throw shooter, just a freshman. Lost part of his front tooth when he was playing Providence in the first round. Then jammed the thumb in the second round. But he is a tough young man. And he makes the first one.
We mentioned that he's the heart of the Virginia offense, and he does so many things well for them, but most importantly, he's a great offensive rebounder who has a good nose for the ball when it comes off, and he's only 6'5".
Turnover to Virginia, and with those 2 points, Brian Stiff surpassed Ralph Sampson as the all-time leading freshman scorer at UVA. Blunden down in the paint, back out to Crotty, over to Capster. His shot is short, and Rice pulls the rebound. Virginia in a man-to-man defense. They've tried several different schemes to stop Rice in this ball game. Here's Rice for 2.
And he just doesn't quit. He came off that pick so cleanly. I wonder why Virginia now is not switching off outside. Rice is unstoppable. They've got an opportunity to stop some people inside. Let's switch out a little bit and see how Michigan adjusts to that.
The Big Ten Player of the Year now has 23 points. Crotty way out front for Virginia. The Wolverines are 18 minutes away from Seattle. Dabs inside.
That's an excellent job by John Crotty to recognize the defense. Michigan was switching. Dabs' man stepped out to help out on the jump shooter. Dabs was wide open. He didn't see the ball, and John Crotty kept yelling at him until he did and got him the ball.
Dabs, who has had several knee operations, including one in October, came away from that listen. Robinson's shot is for 2. The lead was 19 at the half, and it remains that way. Crotty to Stiff. Capster is a long-range shooter, and Morgan has been so cold that he's now sitting on the Virginia bench. Stiff will fire for 2. He can't get it to go. Rebound, Mills. Nice pass underneath to Vaught. And Vaught converts.
Well, that's the leading field goal shooter in the Big Ten. And you see with a nice little jump hook in there. Why? He's always close to the basket.
The biggest Wolverine lead of the afternoon. Crotty. Cavaliers can't buy a basket. Robinson pushes it up quickly. Can almost be playtime for Michigan. Unusual to see Rice miss like that. Crotty with the rebound. Missed the layup. I say unusual for Rice. He's 10 for 12 from the field. Mills.
Such a nice touch by Terry Mills. A lot of people were disappointed with his play inside as he started his career. He was one of the top high school basketball players in the country a few years ago. But he knows that he was at one time a perimeter player. He feels that he doesn't have to play to anyone's potential except his own. And he knows that he can go out and do the job. Nice shot by him on that last possession.
The foul is on Capstra. the man who just made that reverse layup at the other end.
Well, it's still a little rough inside. You see Glenn Rice, he's really trying to get to a position there, and Casper's trying to deny the position. Someone's got to put pressure on him and stop Glenn Rice. Casper's done the best that he could.
London sits down for Virginia. Curtis Williams comes in for the Cavaliers. A 21-point lead for the Wolverines. And this time they stop play so Castro can get squared away with Rice. Rice got poked in the eye, so Castro apologizes. Don't forget, coming up next out in the Mile High City, the West Region Final between UNLV and Seton Hall. That's a doubleheader day here, coming up next on CBS Sports. Here in Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky, 15:30 remaining in the ball game. It's a 21-point Michigan lead. This is Rice with the turnaround jumper. Stiff with the rebound. And Rice comes right back, gets it at the other end, and gets hit in the face again.
Then you see back, well, actually for the first time in the game, it's Curtis Williams of Virginia. He's there to add some inside muscle for Virginia. Fought with the shot for two. Steve Fisher, the interim head coach, making a strong bid for the head coaching job at Michigan. Casper shot rolls around the rim, followed by Dad. Going to call the push-off on Stiff. That'll be the second team foul against Virginia, and the third on Stiff. Very physical second half, and I'm not sure that it's not because of the frustration from Virginia. They'll pull Rice away as Rice and Stiff go face-to-face. And there's timeout on the floor with 14:47 remaining in the ball game.
The S-Class, the engineering flagships of Mercedes-Benz, and something more. Automobiles that evoke memories of a day-long past, and a car so exotic that it turned a young boy's head. A heritage of legendary automobiles that have inspired dreams. The Mercedes-Benz S-Class, nothing less than the best of every big Mercedes there ever was.
Dear Rayovac, I have a complaint. My husband ordered a radio-controlled car. The car was being run all over the house, chasing the dog, chasing me. The instructions said it would only operate for 1 hour on 2 batteries. Your batteries lasted for over 4 hours of constant operation. 4 hours? Finally, I had to throw husband and car out. Sincerely, Barbara Freeman, Redmond, Washington.
Rayovac. Batteries that turn people on.
The Honda Lawnmower. It was first with a blade brake clutch that stops the blade without stopping the engine. First with a maintenance-free automotive-type shaft drive. And first with an easy-starting overhead valve engine. It's no wonder this is the first lawnmower good enough to be a Honda.
They are the most controversial couple on ice. The Duchesnays go for Ice Dance Gold as the World Figure Skating Championships continue tomorrow.
The officials have corrected the call. Instead of the foul being on Stiff, it's on Rice, and we'll show you why.
Well, that time Ryan Stiff actually initiated the contact a bit. That's part of the game. But Glenn Rice retaliated, and it doesn't stop there. As soon as the ball play was stopped, Glenn Rice starts it again. And you wonder, you know, being ahead by 21 points, if you need that type of intimidation factor right now.
So that's the second personal on Rice. It's a 21-point Michigan lead with 14:45 remaining in the ball game. Man-to-man defense by Michigan. Jabs way out front. This is Crotty. Nice dish to Stiff, but he was fouled out front by Griffin. That'll be the second on Griffin. Field goal for shooting for Virginia has just been abysmal. It's been red hot for Michigan.
And Richard Morgan, who is the bulk of the offense for Virginia, you see what type of shooting day he's had, and that impacts directly on what Virginia does on offense.
Rice, on the other hand, having a sensational performance this afternoon. And the foul will be on Griffin again. That's 2 in a row in a matter of 8 seconds, and that's his third. And talking about Virginia's offense, let's also add that Brian Stiff, who's an integral part of that offense, really hasn't seen the ball an awful lot. It's pretty crowded inside, and Virginia's now making an effort to go to him. Inside the Dabs, will kick it back out to Crotty. Dabs on the baseline, he's fouled. It's good if it goes, it doesn't. Dabs will go to the line and shoot 2. The foul was on Mills. That's his second.
Well, if there is a weakness that Michigan has displayed in this tournament so far, it's the ability for a team to go inside on them and get their big people in foul trouble. North Carolina did it, but that's one of the crucial decisions Steve Fisher made in that game. He kept some of his people in, his big people in despite the foul trouble, and they played well down the stretch.
Brett Dabs has 7 brothers and 7 sisters. So he's a guy who knew the meaning of depth chart before he ever got to Virginia.
He's been waiting to use that one also.
He has 8 points now and 11 rebounds. And it's 54-34 Michigan. Robinson. This is for 2 if it goes.
Well, Michigan's in a position that once they beat Virginia's pressure, that they can attack it, and they can attack it without feeling any qualms about it. They've got such a big lead.
Nice skip pass down low to Williams. Williams has it blocked down by Robinson, but the foul will be on Higgins.
And that's a guard's dream right there, what Ramil Robinson did. Catch a big man underneath and catch his shot on the way up.
That is the first foul on Higgins and the 16th foul against Michigan.
Well, Curtis Williams is a good inside player for Virginia, but again, Ramil Robinson probably dreams about that. He'll be talking about that for the rest of the summer and all through next year. That's what a guard likes to do, is block a big man's shot.
Glenn Rice comes back into the ball game. He replaces Griffin in the lineup, so Mike Griffin sits down. On the floor, Hughes, Higgins, Mills, Ramil Robinson, and Rice. Williams at the line. And he misses the second one. The Cavaliers now 6 for 12 from the free throw line. 13:45 remaining in the ball game. Hughes walks with it. And that's turnover number 5 for the Wolverines.
Well, Michigan right now getting a little careless, and Steve Fisher is letting Terry Mills know you got to get back into the game now. It's not over.
Nice quick move by Stiff, and he's fouled out front. Foul is on Rice, and that's his third. Michigan is over the limit. Well, that could be interesting if he got into foul trouble and had to leave.
Well, this is a decision that Steve Fisher's got to make right now. What's he going to do? Get Glenn Rice out, because you know Virginia is going to go after him on offense now.
Stiff misses the first end of the 1-and-1. Hughes with a rebound. Boy, the Cavaliers have just struggled everywhere.
But the good thing for Terry Holland is that they don't give up.
Great entry pass by Rice to Mills. Whistling away. They're really starting to call things tightly now. The foul is on Hughes, and that's his third. Wolverines have just dominated this game in every aspect.
Well, they've gotten the ball where they've wanted it, inside when they want to, outside to Glenn Rice in positions where he can shoot, and that's one of the reasons they've got such a high field goal percentage.
There's 13-15 left. Michigan is looking toward the Great Northwest.
For hanging in, for hanging tough, for holding on when the going's rough, for smiling on you, fighting for life, for coming through this world for you.
Seafood A, with a taste so crisp and clean, so refreshing, it's the king of beer.
Fried Chicken has the Colonel's original recipe of 11 herbs and spices. So when you want that one and only taste, come on over to our side of the road.
After rigorous examination of the Mercedes-Benz 300E, one automotive journal concluded that it may be the best sedan in the world, and another journal called it a nearly spectacular mix of performance and practicality. The Mercedes-Benz 300E. Now that it's astonished the experts, let it astonish you.
The Michigan Wolverines have not been to the Final Four since the mid-1970s, but they're about to take that step with their biggest lead of this ball game against Virginia. Don't forget, later this afternoon on CBS, we'll take you out west to Denver, Colorado, the Mile High City, for Seton Hall and UNLV to see which will be the second team in. We don't want to give it away too quickly, though, because now Rice has 3 personals and Hughes has 3 personals. Williams misses the free throw, though. Virginia's getting to the line this half, but they've been unable to convert. They're 3 of 8. Mills will fire himself and hit it.
As we mentioned, Terry Mills is an excellent perimeter shooter for a big guy. Curtis Williams, he's got to dig in.
Friday drives the left side. His shot is not close. Robinson with the alley-oop to Rice. For 3.
Brian Smith, again, the heart of the Virginia offense, kind of silences the crowd just a little bit.
Nice drive by Morgan, and he's fouled. Correction, Robinson.
Rumeal Robinson, again, is rounding into an excellent playmaker. This time, as is all his big men do, Glenn Rice gets out and runs on the break nicely, and a picture-perfect lob pass.
Foul was on Dabb. I was thinking Morgan because he was ready to check in, and he has for Virginia. So Castro sits down. Morgan sat out a good 3 minutes. And for the day, Morgan has only 5 points. He's averaged 33 in the tournament, so that's been one of the stories for UVA. Robinson converts the three-point play for the Wolverines. Robinson sits down. Caleb comes in for Michigan. 12-17 remain in the ball game. Knocked out by Caleb. It'll be Virginia basketball.
And you see, despite the score, Sean Higgins is still out contesting the pass against Brian Fish. They know Virginia, if they're going to make a move, they've got to get into their offensive set quickly. They can't afford to waste time by moving the ball into the perimeter. They've got to go at the basket right away.
Morgan's calling for the ball way up top. This is Crotty for 3. Yes.
3 for Crotty.
65-40 Michigan. 11:45 remaining in the ball game. Mills from the top of the key. Rebound Stiff. Crotty pulls up. His shot bounced off the front of the rim, and the Wolverines with another big rebound. Caleb tried the alley-oop again, and Virginia said not this time. Inside to the freshman.
You see Brian Fish bring it outside. It's just too tall inside there for him.
Just not there for Morgan today. It's a shame to see the senior go out that way after having such a remarkable senior year at Virginia. Morgan is just 2 for 13 if you're just joining us. Under 11 minutes to play. Higgins from way outside. It's for 3.
And you can see the Virginia players in an attempt to make a comeback. They're starting to get a little fatigued. That time, Brian Stiff didn't even have the energy to put his hands up to contest that shot by Sean Higgins.
Rice has 25 points. Higgins 16. Robinson 11. Williams' shot is short. Another rebound for the Wolverines. Nice pump fake by Rice, and he banks it in. 27 points for the Big Ten Player of the Year. And Michigan cooking on all cylinders right now. And Virginia, they're still going to try and execute their offense. They've got to get some quick offense now. Cavaliers just can't hit. Mill kicks it back out to Higgins for three. Holy cow. But Terry Holland's got to call a timeout right now. Virginia is really playing for respect.
Richard, let's make a deal. You roll me your new Cutlass Supreme and I'll fill her up. Dad always gave me a year's supply of gasoline. Marilyn, $50 to use your new Tornado.
I got $1,500 back from Old.
Oh, Sharon, need help financing your Cutlass Calais?
I got 4.9 financing. Sorry.
Your father's automobile.
Hey, kid.
Let's make a deal. Let's make a deal. Let's make a deal on a new generation automobile.
You're looking sharp. You're looking good. You've come so far. We know how to make the most of who you are. Father and son, it's what we've always done. To let the best of Michigan. On so many faces, it's plain to see. We give you all we have to give for all a man can be. Where the race is run, you're the champion.
The Gillette Acro Plus system with the Lubri-Smooth strip for the best a man can get.
Bo Schembechler, the athletic director and head football coach at the University of Michigan. He has to be contemplating the future and what holds for the interim head coach, Steve Fisher, who is making a strong run and a very strong bid for that head coaching job. He is 3-0 in tournament play, about to go to the Final Four. Crotty has his shot blocked by Hughes, and he's fouled. Michigan is on an 11-3 run over the last 3 minutes. They're shooting 32 for 50 from the field. That's 64%. Don't forget, coming up next out west, we'll put the second team into the Final Four. UNLV against Seton Hall out in Denver, Colorado. That's right here on CBS Sports.
Tim, talking about Steve Fisher, I mean, you got to realize that he's sure that his performance in these NCAA tournaments is going to impact greatly on whether he gets this job or not. And if you take a look at his performance, I mean, he's undefeated so far. He's coached against some of the better coaches in the NCAA field, and particularly in the game against Carolina. I mentioned before, he made some great decisions. At one point, he recognized his team was fatigued. He called a timeout, got them rested, and they went on a tear for the last 2.5 minutes of the half and got them back in the game. And then some people were in foul trouble late in the game, and he did a good job of shuffling people in and out. So he's really shown that he can compete.
Fought with the slam. Morgan finally hits a three-pointer. He now has 8 points. Well, let me follow up what you're talking about, Len, as you watch Balk kick it back outside, because Fisher was an assistant at Western Michigan. 7 years as an assistant to Bill Frieder, and as a high school head coach, he was 141-70. So he has been successful.
And he's also got a track record. That's something a lot of people like to look at if he's got experience. He's been through the mill, and he knows what to do as a coach. He hasn't had to do much coaching today, but you know he's capable.
Bo Schembechler told me earlier today that after this season ends for the Michigan Wolverines, he will take a step back, cool down, take emotions out of the decision as Higgins hits three. then, after the emotions die down, he'll make an objective view of the head coaching situation. Morgan walks. That's the 9th turnover for Virginia. And Ramil Robinson comes back into the ballgame. Robinson with 11 points, 6 assists. He had a career-high 13 assists against Carolina Thursday night.
Now, at this point for Michigan, not only do they want to kick up the score, gain some confidence, but they want to continue to execute because they know in the Final Four they're going to be meeting some teams that can compete with them inside as well as out at the guard spot. This is a good time for them to really get rolling and get their cylinders clicking.
Knocked out of bounds by Virginia. It'll be Michigan basketball. This tells the story, doesn't it? Michigan domination. Awfully strong ball club in every phase. Hughes for 2. Followed by Robinson. Good idea, poor execution. Tried to get it to Vaught.
For Ramil Robinson, you don't often see guards go to the basket like that. He's got the kind of build that allows him to get inside with some of these big guys. He's strong and a good leaper.
Oliver in the ball game for Virginia. This is Turner over to Morgan. Dabb wants the ball down low. Gets it and fires and scores.
And the Virginia bench is congratulating Brent Dabb. They're congratulating him not only on that shot, but on a great season as well. He's a guy that's been instrumental in them getting here. There's a lot of the little things that allows the Virginia players to do well offensively and defensively.
For 3 points for Higgins. He now has 25. Morgan. Give him 3 more.
Well, Terry Holland has more or less left Richard Morgan and to kind of salvage what has been up to now a pretty poor game for him. But as a senior, as you say, you don't want to go out shooting poorly. Maybe he can get some self-respect here by the end of the game.
Robinson is fouled by Oliver. He'll go to the line and shoot 2. We're under 7 minutes now, and Michigan leads 81-50. Well in control as they have been throughout the game. The Wolverines broke it open right from the very first minute. Virginia took a 5-4 lead, and then Michigan said so long and went on a 20-7 tear.
And during that time, you look at Michigan's ability to clear the boards. They got out on the break very well. The big people fill the lanes real nicely, and that allowed them to really explode on Virginia. They didn't know what hit them.
Dabb goes out. Turner goes out for Virginia, so it's Blunden, Stiff, Morgan, Oliver, and Jeff Daniel. It's Robinson at the line. Ramil Robinson is a 6'2", 195-pound junior, and Hughes will sit down. In the ball game will be J.T. Oosterbaan for Michigan. Robinson has a cousin who plays for Bo Schembechler on the football team, Lance Cotton. Stiff to Morgan, and Morgan is fouled by Higgins.
That was somewhat of a forced shot by Richard Morgan. Sean Higgins at 6'9", thoroughly covered him, but he did draw the foul. And again, as a senior, Richard Morgan has got to go out here and play the way he's capable of. There may be some pro scouts out here who are watching him. He's having a bad afternoon, but they're going to watch his demeanor and his poise and how he comes out of this slump. That's something that may be in the back of Richard Morgan's mind right now.
He's majoring in sports management and has an interest in that field. He wants to get into that after his playing career is over. Dabb comes back in. Blunden will sit down for Virginia. But it's no secret, Terry Holland told us that Morgan had to score for the Cavaliers to be successful. And he only has 12 points here this afternoon. He makes his second one. Higgins fires for 3.
You saw Brian Stiff come flying out of there much too late. Again, Michigan executing very well on their pick.
Morgan answers with a 2-point bucket. We've been talking about Rice all afternoon, but how about Higgins? He now has 28 points, one more than Rice.
And you know Sean Higgins is the heir apparent to the shooting crown that Glenn Rice wears right now, and he's warming it up. He's going to leave a
good taste in a lot of people's mouths coming up for next year.
That was Oliver who fouled, so Terry Holland will take him out of the ballgame. Crotty now rejoins Morgan in the Virginia backcourt. (86-54) Michigan with 6:10 remaining in the ballgame. Higgins, off-balance shot, and it's for three. He's only a sophomore out of Los Angeles, California. Morgan shot for three, goes over the backboard. The road to the Final Four continues tomorrow as two more teams join the battle in Seattle. In the Midwest, top-seeded Illinois tangles with number 2 seed Syracuse. And in the East, it's Georgetown against Duke. What a game that should be. Road to the Final Four continues. That's tomorrow, 1:50 Eastern Time here on CBS Sports. It's good, and he's fouled. Starting at 1:30 tomorrow, Jim Nance and James Brown will rejoin you and have a preview of the two games, keep you up to scale and updated on everything that's taken place in the tournament thus far. And Vaught goes to the line. I still love his first name, Lloyd. He got that from the initials of his Uncle Louis, Uncle Oliver, and Aunt Yvonne. L-O-Y. Jazz banks it in. 5:30 remaining in the ball game. Turnover for the Wolverines. They walk. Michigan averages 92 points per game. They have 91 now, and they've been over the 100-point mark 9 times. That's their school record. Powerful, powerful team.
Well, at this point, Virginia's still attempting to execute, and that's a sign of a well-coached team, regardless of the score. They have a duty out there to play together as a team, and so far they've been doing that. The unfortunate part is the ball hasn't been dropping.
Higgins shot bangs off the iron. Morgan will bring it up. It's a 3-on-2 Virginia break, and Stitt can't handle the pass.
And that's a little bit too much showtime by Richard Morgan. A nice, easy lob pass or a bounce pass could have made it for him.
Say so long to the starters for Michigan. They'll sit down, and the entire bench will come in. Wholesale changes by Steve Fisher. And it's a standing ovation for the starters of Michigan. Higgins took a bow in front of the Michigan fans. He leads at 31. This is Rice. And Rice now has 30. Hughes with a big rebound. Last time the Final Four was held in Seattle, Virginia was a participant. Not this time. Jazz with a big rebound.
Steve Fisher still wanting to keep his people sharp. Still has Glenn Rice and Terry Mills in the ball game despite the score. And obviously he's looking forward to next week.
Offensive foul by Stitt. That'll be his third and the 6th team foul against Virginia. Well, we can say this about Steve Fisher, the interim head coach. He's taken Michigan farther than they've gone in this entire decade. The last time Michigan was in the Final Four was back in 1976 when they lost to Michigan, or lost to Indiana, rather, in the championship game. Our colleague Quinn Buckner played in that game. Pelinka from outside. 3 minutes and 54 seconds remain. Morgan's running one-hander won't go. It's a 2-on-1. Correction, 3-on-1 right. And he's fouled by Daniel.
Well, that type of fast break has been characteristic of what Michigan's been doing throughout this game. They've been scraping the ball off the board, and then they get it out so quickly. You see Jeff Daniel, the only one back. Virginia players are trailing, and Daniel in a 3-on-1 situation had no other alternative but to foul Glenn Rice. He could have let him go, but your instincts take over. As a defender, you just don't want to see a guy lay the ball up on you.
Rice is the senior co-captain, Big Ten Player of the Year. First team All-Conference, second team All-American. And it's still hard to believe he was recruited only by Iowa State, Central Michigan, and Michigan. He makes them both, and he now has 32. And Rice will say so long. Lions combined outscored Virginia. Higgins with 31, Rice with 32. Virginia has only 56 on the board.
And Tim, it's interesting to note that that ovation that Rice received was not only from the Partisan Michigan fans, but from everyone in here who appreciated the performance that he's put on over the last two games.
Griffin's shot won't go. Rebound underneath, and the foul will be on J.T. Oosterbaan of Michigan. More than 22,000 fans in Rupp Arena enjoying the action this afternoon. The Southeast Region Final. It's 96-56 Michigan. Tim Brandt and Len Elmore with you. Michigan led 5-4, then Virginia led 5-4. Michigan went on a 20-7 run, and you can see the shooting percentage is heavily in favor of Michigan.
Well, this is a game of total dominance by Michigan. They did it inside. They did it outside on the perimeter. They did it defensively in shutting down Richard Morgan and John Crotty. And there isn't a phase of this game that Michigan hasn't excelled at. And unfortunately, Virginia never really got it started after that 5-4 lead.
Michigan beat Xavier. South Alabama moved on. Beat North Carolina. And here today, dominating the University of Virginia. Don't forget, coming up next, it's UNLV, the Running Rebels against Seton Hall. Taylor pitch from way outside. It's 98-56. With 2:58 remaining. This is Crotty. 3 for 3. Wolverines are about to go over the 100-point mark for the 10th time this year. Oosterbaan takes Daniel to the baseline, and he's fouled by Daniel.
Well, Virginia continuing to show some spunk right here despite the score. I mean, they just sit back and just play out the clock. But they're a team with a lot of pride. They're really proud of being here at this particular point when no one else expected them to be here. You can think of the more dominant Atlantic Coast Conference team, the North Carolinas and the Duke. Duke is still in it. North Carolina's home. Virginia can be proud of their season.
Mark Cook replaces the freshman Brian Stiff. And Oosterbaan is at the line for Michigan. This is the first time ever that an interim coach has gone to the Final Four. So history is being made in the NCAA this year. Palenka loose is out of bounds. It'll be UVA basketball. Steve Fisher turned 44 years of age yesterday. And it's interesting when you talk to the players, and I saw where Sean Higgins was actually quoted as saying that the team is so much looser playing for Fisher.
Well, you realize that as an assistant coach, a lot of times you're the liaison between the head coach and the players. There are times when you build a better rapport with the players, and I'm sure the players are much more comfortable with Steve Fisher now that he's head coach because he looks like a guy who hasn't changed.
Dab shot won't go, followed by Oliver, and he's fouled by Griffin. For Griffin, that's foul number 4. Crotty goes out of the ball game for Virginia with 14 points and 7 assists.
You know, with Steve Fisher and the players, it's that old thing as far as authority is concerned. A lot of times players are in awe of authority, and maybe the head coach represents that authority figure that they're in awe of. But Steve Fisher, again, he's a communicator. He's able to talk to the players one-on-one and get his point across, and the players respect that. And now as the head coach, you know, it's something that I'm sure they're happy to see, and they'd like to continue. Those underclassmen will remain for next year.
Terry Holland appreciates the effort made by this man today, Anthony Oliver. He's played with 2 sprained ankles. He has not been healthy at all. Palenka. Basket interference on Caleb. The ball goes over the backboard. It'll be Virginia basketball. Mark Kenny comes in for Michigan, and Hughes will sit down for the Wolverines. Dabbs will sit down for Virginia. And for the Cavaliers, Curtis Williams comes back in.
And again, Brent Dabbs deserves an awful lot of credit for the way Virginia finished up the season. He did the little things like set picks, keep the ball alive on the offensive boards, and that helped Virginia succeed, at least to this point.
He sat down with 12 points and 12 rebounds. And Katzer makes a 2-point shot. Under 2 minutes to go. The crowd here wants Michigan to get over the 100-point mark. Right now, they're stuck on 98. Oliver loses it. Griffin ahead to Caleb. This could do it. Blocked down by Daniel.
And again, we talked to the instinct of the defender, and there is no big guy, whether you're up 30 or down 30, that wants to see a little guy dunk in his face, and Jeff Daniel wasn't about to be the first.
Caleb goes to the line. He'll be shooting 2. Demetrius Caleb is a sophomore from Flint, Michigan. He had to take a bigger role when Kirk Taylor got hurt, injured his knee, and went out. Finished for the year, so Caleb came in. Bo Schembechler, extremely happy. And when we talked to him prior to the game, very happy as Caleb puts the Wolverines at the 100 mark. 100-62. Here comes Caleb, and he's got the big man Ustaban and Koenig behind him. Young guys are just having fun now. This is what we mentioned to you just a few minutes ago. This is the first time an interim coach has ever gone to the Final Four. It may bode well for the future. Denny Crum, first year in 1975, going to the finals, and he's amassed a wonderful record. Steve Fisher, with the facilities that he has, the resources that he has at Michigan, if he gets the head job, has the potential of doing just the same. Jeff Daniel at the line. Can't hit the first one. Boy, what a tough afternoon for the men from Thomas Jefferson School in Charlottesville, Virginia. Oliver with the rebound. We're approaching the 1-minute mark. It'll be Michigan basketball, and that's turnover number 15 for the Cavaliers. That score is correct. It's been all Michigan. Hail to the victors. .45 seconds remain. Oliver for Virginia. Inside to Daniel. He'll fire from 10 feet. His shot is short. Ahead to Caleb. J.P. Ustaban gets his first basket. Seconds remain. This is Cook. Number 3. 3-point basket. Michigan throws it out of bounds with 3 seconds, but there's no question. There has not been a question since the 5-minute mark of the first half. This man is going to the Final Four. That's it. Becomes the first team in. Seton Hall and UNLV will follow this. They're up next out in Mile High City of Denver, Colorado. 102-65 Michigan. Right now, let's go to New York and Jim Nance. Jimmy?
Well, Tim Brandt, thank you. And the Wolverines are going to the Final Four for the first time since 1977 when Michigan went all the way to the championship game before losing to the Indiana Hoosiers that night. Michigan led that year by Ricky Green, Phil Hubbard, and Steve Grody. But to see now at Lexington, ripping down the net.
the very start, Jim, Michigan just came out awfully powerful. I really thought that as well as Michigan played, perhaps a crucial mistake on the part of Virginia was putting Richard Morgan on Glenn Rice. Richard Morgan never got his confidence, and as much as Virginia depends on Morgan, boy, that really cost them.
Of course, that was 1976, the last time Michigan was in the Final Four before losing to the Hoosiers in the championship game. Not 1977, but 76. And hey, Bo Schembechler, you got to give Steve Fisher the job now. No more fishing around for a new coach. Steve Fisher's got to be the man.
That was as politically evasive an answer that I've ever heard at the top when the guys asked him, does Steve Fisher have the job? He ought to have it after this, Jimmy. Let's talk a little bit about the Chevy MVPs. For Virginia, a tough afternoon, obviously, all the way around. Richard Morgan, the leading scorer for the Cavaliers, with 15 points. And, hey, no mistake about who it was for Michigan. Glenn Rice, just an outstanding afternoon, 32 points for the Wolverines, as they now move on to the Final Four.
All right, James, of course, we have one more spot available for Seattle. That'll be the West Regional Final, which is coming up in just a few moments. UNLV, the Runnin' Rebels, will take on the Seton Hall Pirates, the 3 seed, Seton Hall in the West, UNLV, the 4 seed. And Dick Stockton and Bill Raftery will be our men on the scene out there later this afternoon. But the celebration will continue in Lexington. We'll go back for some post-game comments as we continue on the road to the Final Four.
98,398 miles. My Toyota truck. I love it.
Well, you probably won't believe it, but I have 407,510 miles.
101,978 miles.
That's 213,000 miles.
It was definitely Michigan's day. The Wolverines leading by 19 at the half, going on to a 37-point victory. And now, folks, get the reservations and the tickets ready. You're headed to Seattle, Michigan, a winner in the Southeast Regional Final. Let's take you back out there. Now, Tim Brandt and Lynn Elmore with interviews.
All right, Jim, thank you very much. I'm with Coach Steve Frieder, his wife Angie, his son Mark, and the extended Michigan family. Can you put this into words, Coach?
All I know is that we came to both of these tournaments, first in Atlanta and now here to Lexington, with a purpose, and we're as proud as could be of all these kids for the way they focused and hung together and achieved.
Angie, should he be the next head coach at Michigan?
I'm prejudiced.
Mark, can you say anything about your dad and what a job he did?
Yes, Mark. I thought he did a great job.
All right, Len.
I want to grab the senior. Yeah! Glenn Rice first. Fellas. Let Glenn speak a little bit. This is, you know, his finest hour. And Glenn totally dominated out there. The team as a whole dominated out there. I mean, did you expect an easy win?
Well, I was telling all the fellas last night that I think if we'd have came out and played the way that we were capable of playing, that we could get anything accomplished. And tonight, that's what we did. We played the way we were capable of playing, and we got it accomplished.
32 points for Glenn Rice. How about Sean? You had 31.
Well, we've been working all year to get to where we are now, and it's time for us to go all the way now. I can tell the fellas, don't stop now.
Yeah, boy. Steve, what are your thoughts now as you head to the Final Four?
Well, we told them after Carolina when they walked out of the locker room to focus on Virginia. I think we're going to take a good long hour or two in that locker room as a group and on our way home on the plane and enjoy the victory we got tonight and then prepare to play whoever we'll play.
The first interim head coach ever to go to the Final Four. Congratulations.
Well, I guess you're right.
Right now, let's go out west. Denver, Colorado. Dick Stockton and Bill Raftery standing by from UNLV